Good morning, Seaside. Please remain standing for the congregational song. Here we go. We know this one. Sing it from your heart, Seaside. Come on. Use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. I used to think God was the sun, God is the sun, but God's so much more than the earth or the stars or all of creation. God is creator, all in all, and needing us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Command my hands, what must they do? Command my life, it's here for you. God is the love that heals all creation. God is creator, makes all things new, and God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. And God needs us, and God needs us to shine its light again. God needs us to shine its light, and God needs us to shine its light as me, as you. So use me, oh God, I stand for you, and here I'll abide as you show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Show me all that I must do. Yeah, Seaside.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. Whew, that was a- hey, you're looking very cute today. I
Thank you
like
so
that.
much.
Yeah, is that something new?
It's brand new. I just got it in the mail.
Oh,
I shop online now. I can't even believe it.
yeah, well, you wear it well.
Thank you so much.
Hey, aren't you playing tonight at,
I am at Valley View Casino today. If anybody wants to come hang out with me and my band.
yeah, like a decent time, like ministerial time?
Yes, 5 to 9.
I can make it. Right out there on 15. That'd
That's
be
right.
great.
Yeah, the casino, not the Not in
Down.
Sports Arena.
Oh, okay, up there.
The one up in Valley
All
Center.
right, air conditioning and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, good, good. A lot of food.
Food, yeah, buffet.
Nice, nice. All right. So anyway, welcome. Wherever you may be on your spiritual path, know that you are truly welcome at Seaside. It is a spiritual nexus. It is a thriving spiritual community where all are welcome. It is a place that inspires us to live our divinity. And it is a home that is just welcomes everyone. And it's without judgment. We care. We practice kindness. As we realize we are all on this spiritual path together. And as together we work in consciousness, we raise the whole vibration of Seaside, of the planet, if you would. I mean, that's the value of the work that we're doing here. And so we continue to believe Spirit comes first in all things. And we have a wonderful practitioner today. She is on the core council. She is the director of our education here at Seaside. I know has a wonderful fall curriculum that you're not showing yet, but it's already in place, and that is Deborah Sadler.
Good morning. Welcome to this beautiful morning at Seaside Center. Please join me for a moment in the stillness. There is one creative source of all that is, that lives, moves, and has its being everywhere, for it is present in every place, for it is all God. And God is the love and the joy and the ease and grace that spreads throughout our lives and our planet and our universe. And it is unconditional, for there is only one mind, and this one mind is all thoughts and all ideas, and all wisdom and all knowledge. And it is infinite in its potential. And there's just one life, and that life is God's life, and that life is perfect, and that life is my life now. And this is true for me, that I am the individualized expression of Spirit. This is true for each person here, that we are each that divine intelligence expressing as joy, as love, as peace, as ease. And so I know today's service is blessed by each individual who is here. And I know that the words of Dr. Christian resonate through our hearts and open our hearts in a way that enables us to be a greater expression of ourselves in our own lives and in our families and in our communities and in our world. And so I know this is a blessed event.
Breathe in, let the power of love fulfill you. Breathe out, let the worries of life be gone. Release all the troubles you have for tomorrow. Look within. Let's begin as one. Breathe in, let the power of love fulfill you. Breathe out, let the troubles of life be gone. Release all the worries you have for tomorrow. Look within, let's begin as one.
Thank you. Deborah, thank you. Whew, otherworldly. Max, keeping that music going. Sound terrific. And to keep it going is a new player here. Seaside's newest practitioner to enroll in the School of Ministry is Audrey Nicole. Hey, having our reading for today.
Thank you. Good morning. Happy Sunday, Seaside. Some of you know, some of you don't yet know, but the beloved Tamara Keeves will be joining us on August 19th. She's going to be doing Sunday service and hosting a very powerful workshop. So for today's reading, start with the quote on the back of the book that says, "When life doesn't go according to plan, that's when your true destiny begins." And even more, she goes on to say that even if I had not been discovered, I still would have enjoyed the result of my choice for the rest of my life. I had given myself a chance. I had acted with formidable self-love and respect. I had trusted my own inner guidance more than the storm warnings of fearful people who had battened down their lives and still lived in fear. I had gone beyond my own narrow, practical ideas of what I could be or have in this lifetime. I had put my toe in the water I wanted to swim in, and it gave me the ultimate leg up on life. It changed the way I slept at night. It took away my fear of death and my fear of life. It changed the way I stood in a room of people, and it changed the way I sat with myself. It changed the way I say my name and what I teach the children just by my existence. It has changed every other choice I will make in this lifetime. I know that consequence will last all of my lifetimes.
That was beautiful. Good morning, Seaside. It is my honor to introduce our guest artists. We love when she's here. She drives all the way down from Los Angeles to be here with us. Every time she sings, I feel something. I feel just an emotion that she pulls out of me, and I'm just so grateful, and I hope that you feel the same way when she opens her mouth and sings from her heart. So let's have a beautiful, warm welcome for our dear Angel Travis.
Gathered up the light and swallowed it down. I can feel the glow turn me around. Gave up my masks, I gave up my mirrors. I gave it all up for truth, and here I will stay. Yes, 'cause with love, everything's alright. With love, we are more than meets the eye. Keep it on the line. With love, we are so divine. Now I put my up all of my lies. I even gave up my time card to be by God's side. I gave it all up because of the burning inside. The love, the light coming out, couldn't keep it inside. It was with love I became more right. With love we are more than meets the eye. Keep it on the light. With love we are so divine. Now I put my faith into that moment's hand, and when I never slip down into the starry sand, and I put my faith into the moment's hand, that way I won't slip down. I know whose I am. I know whose I am. And I put my faith into this moment's hand. That way I never slip. I won't slip it down into the story sand. And I put my faith into that moment's hand. That way I won't slip down into that story sand. I know whose I am.
What spirit can you feel that one for sure? I mean, what a message. Put faith into that moment. Oh yeah, I need that. I told you I didn't really need it. But I just thought you put your faith into this moment, you don't go deep into your story. How many have gone deep into their story? Oh, yeah. Well, I think that's kind of what we do here. In this morning's message about the spiritual insights, as you know, I've been going over movies this summer with some wonderful insights and spiritual insights. And this one is from Hidden Figures. And man, did these women have their story they could have gone deep into. But they chose faith in the moment instead, and it made all the difference in the world. It is truly an amazing story that took 50 years to come out into our culture. I don't know about you, but I had never heard of what took place there until this movie came out. You don't have to fess up. You don't have to say me too. But it's really a shock. I don't want to say an embarrassment, but you know, just back in the 60s, we had just legal segregation in Virginia at the NASA Research Center in Langley, Virginia. They were practicing legalized segregation. And there was a group of the African women working in a section called the West Women's Computer Group. And they were like a half a mile away from the rest of the other workers at NASA. But they had such a brilliance, they had such something about them that they were truly a gift. And so they had their space and their ability to contribute to the program that was going on. But these three women that the movie were about, luminaries. They were just brave. They were just an expression of women empowerment, girl power, if you would. They had something that became the defining piece to help put somebody in space so they could orbit the Earth and come back to Earth. I mean, it took a lot of people, but without their contribution, it would not have happened. And what these women were put through is just not right. And so here's a little bit of the clip that was about this movie.
Russians have a spy satellite taking pictures of God knows what. Get us up there, Harrison. We can't justify a space program that doesn't put anything in space.
We all gonna end up unemployed riding around in this pile of junk.
You're welcome to walk the 16 miles.
Or sit in the back of the bus.
We're putting a human into space.
We bring him in too soon, he burns up on re-entry.
I need math that doesn't yet exist. Find a mathematician before the Russians plant a flag on the damn moon.
You have identification on it?
NASA, sir.
I had no idea they hired.
Quite a few women working in the space program.
Space test group needs a computer.
Catherine's the gal for that. She can handle any numbers you put in front of her.
They never had a colored in here, but don't embarrass me.
This wasn't emptied last night.
I'm sorry, I'm not the...
You should be an engineer.
I'm a Negro woman. I'm not gonna entertain the impossible.
I'm standing beneath a spaceship. We are living the impossible. Come on!
The IBM data processing system. We have to know how to program it.
Ooh, like that.
Get it, girl. That's John Glenn.
What do you ladies do for NASA?
Calculate your trajectories.
You can't get anywhere without the numbers.
How could you be ogling these white men? It's equal rights. I have the right to see fine in every color. NASA doesn't commission females for the engineer program. Every time we have a chance to get ahead, I would like to attend today's briefing.
There's no protocol for women attending.
They move the finish line. You all should be thankful you have jobs at all.
Whew. Yeah. Well, stuff, just be thankful you got a job. That is no consciousness of appreciation there, I'll tell you. And what they had to sacrifice, I mean, when they were working with the space program and they were getting to the place and the Soviet cosmonaut Yuri had gone out into outer space and returned, Al Harrison, who's Kevin Costner there, said, you know what? You need to let your families know that you are not going to be coming home early anymore. You're not going to be making it home for dinner, but you're going to be spending late nights here and getting here early in the morning so we can get somebody up in space. And if you can't do that, I'm fine with that, but you're welcome to leave now. And so Katherine Johnson, she is this one who is the mathematician who is extraordinary. She was the one who could figure out theoretical geometry. Theoretical geometry? I didn't even pass geometry. Now we get into theoretical. You know, Mr. Harrison was saying, you know, we've got to come up with a math that doesn't exist yet. We've got to do the impossible. And you know what? You're going to come work for me, and you got to tell your family. And her husband had recently died. She got home late, and the kids said that you have been gone for like 300 hours, Mom. And she's a mathematician. She says, I haven't been gone 12 and a half days. And the little girl says, but it feels like it. And she says, but I now have to be your mom, I have got to be your dad, and I have got to work full time. And that is the commitment, that is the dedication that this individual is willing to make. And what life does is it encourages us to bring forth our true self, our real self, to let go of the one that had been taken us to this point and to birth forth that new expression. And if we are not moving into that new expression with the ease and the grace, because I'm now listening to that spirit, then it's going to just smack you into there. And it's going to shake you, and things are going to stir you to grow beyond where you have been, whether you're working for your life or whether you're working in a greater cause. Life is going to shake it and stir it, and it may look like racism. It could be bias, unconscious bias. It could be let off from a job. It could be a surprise lump that shows up in your body. It could be your clients are no longer showing up with the old way you used to get clients to show up. I share that one because I work on that all the time. You know, it's what can I do to birth myself into that new expression? What happens is as that world is shaking, and you go to God and say, my world is shaking, you'll find that it is Spirit that is doing the shaking in your life, and it is the fingerprints of the infinite that is somehow in an obscure kind of supportive way shaking your life. But it's asking you to dig deeper than what the circumstances say. As Angel was singing to us, to bring faith to this moment. I have faith in this moment. I'm not getting into my story where they are doing me wrong. But I'm going to have faith in this moment. I'm going to dig deeper into the disturbance, the discomfort, the disruption, and recognize as God's fingerprints are all over this, because God is omnipresent, and somehow right here, I know there's something greater than what I first can understand. And sometimes the way we are treated is less than humane. It is definitely not all right. Mary Jackson, she was one of the three that this movie is about. She is this engineer, this brilliant mind. She is the one, as the space capsule was being practiced by this guy and the pieces were falling off of it. She's this engineer they brought in and said, we got to figure this out. And this guy who she was talking to in this clip said, if you were white like me, would you wish to be an engineer? And she looked at him and said, I'd already be an engineer. You know? She already had the skills, so she went to the superintendent, the one who headed up the personnel, and says, you know, I'm an engineer, I'm doing the engineer jobs, I want to be considered an engineer. And she says, you can't be. And she says, but I'm doing it. She says, well, there's a new rule here at NASA. You have to have an advanced degree in engineering to be on staff as an engineer. She said, I can't. Those schools do not allow the African women. It is a segregated state. It is legal. It's not federally legal, but the states were doing their own thing in 61 when this was going on. And the lady, you heard her say, well, you should just be happy you have a job. Well, she went home, Mary went home and talked to her husband. Her husband said, you can fight it, you can petition the courts about it, but you got to stop complaining. You know? You can do something about it. You can do what you can do. That's one of the keys to this good business. You do what you can do. You control those things you can control and the things you can't, but you can go to the courts and you can petition. And so she goes to the court. She gets her ducks in order. She shows up in the courtroom, and she has got this old white judge who has never, leaned in the favor of African Americans. And she got up to the bench and said, may I talk to you, Judge? And got close and said, you know what? I did a little research. I recognize you're the first from your family that ever went on to college. She said, I also recognize you were the first to be appointed to the bench in this particular area. And you're the first and you said some law. And you know what, Your Honor? Out of all the cases you're going to hear today, nobody's going to remember any of this 100 years from now unless you are the first to allow an African American to go on to one of these graduate schools. He leaned forward and whispered, okay, but only night school. And Mary Jackson went on to become the first African-American woman to be an engineer for NASA. She helped figure out how to keep that spaceship from burning up when it re-enters into our orbit. And Octavia, she was Dorothy Vaughan in the show. Dorothy Vaughan, she was the head of the West Women's Computer Group. That's computers. They were called computers. They didn't have electronic computers back then. They had people that were computers, right? So she was the head of this whole group of women who were computers, these brilliant minds, and their task was to double check, the facts, the numbers, and things that they were working on. But these women, they had a bigger vision. Another good business practice here. One is, I'm just doing some math here. But if you have a bigger purpose for your work, which is putting a person in space and bringing them back successfully, that can help you maybe put in those late kind of hours. Anyways, Dorothy is the supervisor of all these women, but she's not given the title of supervisor because, well, in NASA, they just don't do that. And, she's talking to this superior again, the supervisor who's the head of the personnel. And Dorothy said, I'd like to be considered a supervisor since I am supervising all these women. There's more than 30, 40 women here working in this department. I am their supervisor. And she says, well, we just don't feel we need that anymore. She said, there's nothing, against you. I don't have anything against you. And Dorothy says, well, I think you probably believe that. But you know what? There's a bias in there. Whether she was aware of it or not, there was a bias operating within her consciousness. And we all have these blind biases, these unconscious biases that allow us to behave in ways if we were to step back to the mountaintop and have a little higher perspective. I can't believe, Christian, you just said that, or you acted like that. You know, I write in my book about driving behind a truck. You know, it has the sign says, if you can't see my mirrors, I can't see you. We have got this bias, and we are blind to certain things in life, just as Vivian, the supervisor, superintendent, whoever she is, the head of personnel, said, oh, it's nothing, you know, against you, but, there is something inside. There's something inside all of us, and as we can become aware of those operating systems, we can begin to behave in a manner that allows us to be empowering as opposed to disempowering. To dissolve the disillusion means to see that we have been living within an illusion, that legal segregation was okay in the 60s. Oh my goodness, my mom used to talk about that. She talked about the bathrooms where they had signs for the colored women, and it's just inconceivable. But yet, watching this movie, it reminded me it was going on within our lifetime. Well, Dorothy got that and realized there's nothing she can do about that. But what she could do is NASA was starting to come up with these computers. And computers hadn't yet arrived at NASA. And so they created a room, which tended to be way too small for the computers because those mainframes back then took up huge amounts of space. They were taken out. And then they couldn't figure out how to hook up these computers, these big mainframes that come from a company called International Business Machines, as we now know as IBM, right? And their computer, people were trying to set up this newfangled kind of electronic computer so you didn't have to use humans, and nobody could quite figure it out. But Dorothy saw what was going on. And so what you can do is take charge of your own life and say, you know what? Yeah, I don't really like what's going on here, but that's the way it's going. And so she kind of played, she kind of figured out how to turn on the machine when others couldn't quite figure it out. She went to the library and got books on how to be a computer programmer. Then she came back to all of her women and said, hey, ladies, you may not like this, but you know what? They're going to start computing electronically. So what we need to do is learn how to be programmers of the computers so we can compute the computers. We can be computer programmers. And so all the women started in their extra time, not on their working hours, after hours, beginning to develop the expertise. And so all of a sudden, when things began to go online, there was nobody around NASA that knew how to run computers. And so here's this superintendent, supervisor, head of personnel comes down and said, hey, Dorothy, we just found out, like, you're the only one around here who actually knows how to, program a computer. We want you. He said, that's nice. But I'm with all my women here. You know, we're all in this together. He said, well, we'll take you. And he said, well, then I'm not going. You know, she made herself indispensable there. So she went away and she came back and said, you know what? We want all of these women to work on this. And all 30 of those African women, one of the great scenes of the movie is just seeing all of them just walking down the hall, walking into the main building where the only African American that ever really worked there was this third one. And this one is really, I won't say what the movie is about, but she's definitely the lead in it. She is the theoretical geometry person. She is the one who is working in this group of computers when Kevin Costner, Al Harrison in this group says, we can't find a theoretical geometrist. We need one. And they went down to this group and they found Katherine Johnson. And Katherine Johnson came, she was the first African-American woman to be allowed into the computing room of the highest echelon of genius mathematicians there. And she walks into this room of all these guys in their little straight ties and white shirts and pencils and glasses. And you saw what they did. First thing is they gave her the trash basket and said it wasn't empty last night, as if she was the janitor. You talk about an unconscious bias that is operating in a human psyche. These individuals are the representation of a collective consciousness of our nation, or at least that part of our nation. There are things that are lurking, they're coming to the surface right now under our political climate that are showing this racism isn't gone, that our fear of otherness is not gone yet. But this movie reminds us that, you know what? You begin to look and you see the gifts that people bring, and there's a difference that can be made. And yet they treated Catherine like a second-class citizen. She couldn't even use the same coffee pot. It's like, it's inconceivable as to where that kind of thinking could come from. Couldn't use the same bathrooms in that era. I don't know. That's what I shared. My mom told me they used to have separate bathrooms. And it finally presented a problem within this group, because she had to walk a half a mile just to go to the bathroom. And so we have this scene that picks up with her coming back, hair drenched, because she had to run in the rain as everybody was working. And Marv, would you run this? All wet.
Where the hell have you been? Everywhere I look, you're not where I need you to be. It's not my imagination. Now, where the hell do you go every day?
To the bathroom, sir.
To the bathroom. To the damn bathroom. For 40 minutes a day? What are you doing there?
We're T-minus 0 here. I put a lot of faith in you.
There's no bathroom for me here.
What do you mean there's no bathroom for you here?
There is no bathroom. There are no colored bathrooms in this building or any building outside the West Campus, which is half a mile away. Did you know that? I have to walk to Timbuktu just to relieve myself. And I can't use one of the handy bikes. Picture that, Mr. Harrison. My uniform. Skirt below my knees, my heels, and a simple string of pearls. Well, I don't own pearls. Lord knows you don't pay colors enough to afford pearls. And I work like a dog, day and night, living off of coffee from a pot none of you want to touch. So, excuse me if I have to go to the restroom a few times a day.
There you have it. No more colored restrooms. No more white restrooms. Just plain old toilets. Go wherever you damn well please. Preferably closer to your desk. Here at NASA, we all pee the same color.
When you choose to put faith in the moment, who you are will activate the greater ideal and expression in other people. But if you go deep into your story and you get into the complaining instead of taking control of what you can take action with in your world, you're going to remain stuck in a place. Things began to happen in that moment. A miracle happens when our perspective changes. Buckminster Fuller, he would talk about that one doesn't create change by fighting, but rather by making that thing obsolete. Right? You know, you don't change those things by fighting it, you make them obsolete. All of a sudden, that kind of thinking and that kind of behavior is inconceivable. All of a sudden, what spots in your life have you been fighting and going deep into that story when all of a sudden, if I choose to step to higher ground or to a different place, that I can make it obsolete and I can begin to operate in a new kind of way. And so Catherine, she is this genius mathematician who is the only one who was able to figure out how to, what they had to figure out is how to get change from an elliptical orbit to a parabolical orbit. And what that means is the elliptical orbit is what goes around the sun, in an oval. And so they figured out, the Russians as well as the Americans, how to send somebody up and the Earth's moving, and so it comes down at an angle and they know where the capsule's going to land. What they couldn't figure out is once you get it out of that elliptical orbit into around the Earth, that's a parabolical, like a satellite dish, and how to calculate that so you know where you re-enter and how you're going to come back down into the ocean, that you're going to land in the Pacific Ocean instead of the Indian Ocean, or in the middle of Kilimanjaro, who knows where. And she is the one who came up with that. So all of a sudden they're trying to figure things out, and they would give her from the daily briefings the notes to work on, and she would figure out the calculations, she would give it back, and they would take it the next morning into the briefing, and they have changed their mind already. And so they would give it back, and she would create another report for the next day's morning meeting, and she'd put her name on, and they would take her name off the report. She wasn't allowed to put her name on a report, and they would take it to the generals and the brass, the Pentagon, in the highest level of clearance. And one morning she's coming in late with the report, and she says to Kevin Costner or Al Harrison, you know what? I got to go in there, because Harrison's main guys said, we don't need that report. It's too late again. Doesn't make any sense to us. And she says, but I need to go in there if you want it to be current and real and to answer their questions. I'm the one, got to let me in there. And he says, you can't. There is no protocol for a woman in these kind of meetings, and the clearance is just too high for you. And she said, well, there is no protocol for sending a person out into space and bringing them back either. Let me in there. And so Al Harrison says, come on, just don't say anything, And they all sit down in the meeting, except her. She's standing. And the only seat left is next to him at the head of the table. And say, oh, come on, sit down. And they start talking, and then they start asking about where the recovery of the capsule is going to be. And there's silence. There's nobody in that room. And Costner's main guy, I don't know. And Costner just gives Catherine the piece of chalk and says, go to the chalkboard. And she draws up this beautiful, exquisite algebraic question or answer or equation. That's it. That answers that question. And John Glenn, who's going to be the first one to orbit the Earth, says, I love her. She is so good. She knows how to get me home. She's my girl. Yes, that is wonderful. And so they get that going. Now they've got the electronic computers going, and all of the electronic computers are doing the calculation. And so Al Harrison has to say to Catherine, this computing room no longer needs you. You've got to go back to the West Women's Computing Room. The computers are doing what it is you have done. And she's devastated. She's the greatest mind there. I mean, Costner told his main guy, you look for the genius of the geniuses and you support them because we all get to the top, or none of us do. But it's the way it was at Langley, and she had to go back. And so the whole group, she was getting married, the whole group pooled their resources, and they bought her a string of pearls. And she's just deeply touched. And she's back there, and they're getting ready to launch day. Launch day is there. They bring out the most recent calculations from the computer. There's a glitch. It's like something's not quite right. And they rerun, and the computer's not getting this day's accurate information there based upon the weather and the tides and the winds. And we're going out there and coming back in 7 rotations because they're going up for seven rotations, and they can't get it figured out. And so he calls John Glenn, said, John, is this a go or no go? There's something not quite right with the computer. We're not really pleased with the calculations. And he said, well, get that woman. That one who knows how. I want a person. I don't want electronics telling me where I'm going to return to this earth. You have her do it. And he looks around and is like, she's not anywhere. They sent her back, and he said, go get her. And they went running a half mile. And they go in there, and they throw the stuff down, and she starts doing the calculation. And in the meantime, they're getting ready for launch. They're getting the workup. You see John Glenn beginning to walk to the capsule with the whatever oxygen bag in his spacesuit. That classic look. And NASA's their lone astronauts going to, and you can just see him sweating, waiting. And here comes Catherine to the door of this calculating or computing room of the highest brass, where Costner and all of those guys in the white shirts and black pin ties are. And she knocks on the door, and they open the door. She says, I got the calculations. They grab the calculations and slam the door in her face. You saw that. That's what that was about at that moment. And she's devastated. Here it is. She is part of a team. She was called in at the last minute to save the launch. She's left in the hall. She starts to walk away. You see the door opener. Cosner takes his credential tag off, puts it around her neck, says, come on in. And there she sat and got to experience the launch. He said, they called John Glenn, put her on the speaker, and there they said, she did it, we're good to go. And he said, that's good. If she says it's good, I know it's good. And off he goes out into space and around once, twice, 3 times, going for 7. But all of a sudden the red lights go on his capsule. You know, it's historic that John Glenn, this is the true part, is that he called to have, Catherine do the calculations. It's what made the story so famous. And all of a sudden, here he is now stuck. And they had to figure out how to recalculate and bring him back after 3.5 rotations around the planet instead of 7. And because of her ability and her math and capability in that moment, she was instrumental in bringing him back safely to the earth without burning up. And the place goes wild. But these women were instrumental. Catherine then went on, because Cosner said, hey, you're going to be around to help us get on the moon? She said, oh, I'm already there. Catherine Johnson is responsible for helping get us onto the moon. She figured out the trajectory to the moon and off. She figured out the trajectory for that Apollo 11. Also, remember Apollo 13, where they had the problems in space. They had her assisting to get them back to this planet. Her trajectory equations are being used for the space shuttle to this day. She is the one who figured out a new kind of math that did not exist. These women left us a wonderful business model as well as breaking the glass ceiling. They left us a sense of women empowerment. They said, you know what? Make yourself indispensable, because who you are speaks a lot louder. They came up in a time where there was a lot of judgment, but they brought something that was greater than that judgment. Also, they showed us, you only work, don't focus on the things you can't control, You can go to the court and make a difference. You can learn a new skill and make yourself indispensable. You can get yourself into that board meeting even if you don't have the appropriate clearance, because you have what it is they want. They also gave us the wonderful model of the value of having a great support system around each other. Those 3 were the best of friends, and they were tight. They also showed us the value that, realize you're doing more than just your work. You're working on a greater vision, putting a person in space and bringing them back. They gave us amazing models of how we can be in our life and in this world. Or we can go deep into our story, as Angel was singing, and not be available to break the boundaries, the ceilings, the collective consciousness, the fears, the phobias, and all the junk that society and culture has seeped upon us. But we are continuously shown by luminaries like these 3 women, Catherine and Dorothy and Mary, that you know what? You do not need to be bound by other people's restrictions, but rather that you can bring forth your gift. You can bring forth that presence of God and your unique contributions when you have that something inside of you that knows you are greater than what this world has to throw at you. Because so many people will just settle for what is in their life, and their mind and their consciousness is filled with what is settled, and there isn't room for their unique integral expression of God in their own life. As you continue to create space for God and let go of the stories from yourself or from others, you begin to be that place where the miracles happen, because your perception has changed. You're no longer fighting the opposition, but you are allowing it to become obsolete. You are hospicing it out as you are midwifing in what is next. And you can either progress with that which is progressing into and emerging into this world, or you can mope and grope and complain about what has been. But I will tell you what, we have come here to this world for a time such as this to bring a new thought and a new consciousness and a new perspective, and to align with those luminaries that are doing that as well, and know that together we are making a difference in this world. God bless us as we do that. Hey, let's keep it going as we bring back to the stage the wonderful Angel Travis.
Thank you for loving me, and thank you for my gifts. God, thank you for setting me free, and thank you for the winged ones. They're always watching me, and thank you. Thank you for loving me, 'cause even when I cannot see, even when I've fallen on my knees, when I think that I am on empty, God says, wake up. Angel, I gave you your wings that you may fly. Wake up, 'cause I need you, and I never left your side. If this were your very last human day in your body, wouldn't you love so completely? Oh God, no matter what it would take, and wouldn't you let go of all of your fear and your hate? And wouldn't you love your brothers and sisters in every single way? 'Cause even when you're on your human knees, and even when you think you can't believe, and when you feel like you're on empty, God says, wake up, angels, I gave you your wings that you may fly. Wake up, 'cause I need you, I need you, I need you, I need you, I never left your side. Wake up, my angels, I never left your side.
weren't kidding. You get to feel her music. You're right. You're right. Ah. Man, wake up, man. I need you. I need you. This world needs you. You know, Spirit just gave you these wings to spread in this world in the face of the biggest disturbances possible. You know, we're all needed to get there. So, this time of our service, where we have the opportunity to unite together in our giving, in our sharing, in our love. We've got people uniting with us. Paco Navarro is watching, and Bella Grace, and Adriana, and Sally Crawford, and Sasha. Hey, Sasha Turtz, and Linda Flores, Dr. Christina Tillotson, Mark Hodges, Dewey Dong, Diana DiCarlo. I mean, there's so many names here. Denise, Daly, Becky. There's just so many people. And together, even those at home are uniting with us in consciousness. We're dealing in that realm that is beyond space. Together, we're making a difference in this world, in this planet, in this nation, within our community, within Seaside. It takes all of us, as Cosner says, you know, to get all of us, you know, we all will either make it to that top or none of us will, because it is that rising tide that we're part of. And so this is the time of our service where every week we say, okay, who can participate this week in supporting this community that is going through time? As I shared, you know, this last week was Seaside's 30th anniversary. It was July 26th in 1988 that was we became incorporated. And it's because moments like this, individuals say, I believe in the expression of God and its unique expression of Seaside has created a space so we can look at movies and see deeper meanings, that we can be here together in times of pain as well as times of joy, to be here in times of birth as well as of death of our family members. You know, that is what happens as a result of our willing to give to this moment to support Spirit in Seaside's unique expression. You are part of that unique expression, and every level of gift is important. Every one of those computers, checking, rechecking, adding large contributions, whether they were in the big room coming up with new equations that were never known, or those just punching the calculator, it takes every one of us playing at the level, which is all Spirit expressing. And so I invite you to listen to your heart and your soul, and just to allow your heart to have its way in its support of God's expression in your life. And as you give, it comes back. It's not why you give, but that's how it works. When there aren't strings attached, when there isn't expectations, when you're supporting Spirit, you become that conduit and that channel through which Spirit passes into form. You become the activity that Spirit is having as your life. So listen to your heart and say yes to that. And with that, I want to invite our ushers to come forward at this time. Say thank you to this wonderful group. Thank you to those that mail in your contributions when you can't be here. That regular support is significant and helpful. Those that choose to participate with that auto tithe, that regular support from your world, and to let us know and be able to put this in and say, hey, I'm counted. Count me in. I'm part of it. All those names I read, and you guys who mail in those contributions to support, it allows this ministry to continue to spread beyond our campus. And so as we unite together here in consciousness in this moment, I do so with the most generous of spiritual communities, filled with a great sense of gratitude for the gifts and the love that is shared continuously in ever-expanding kind of ways, for the blessings and the grace of God is consistently looking for vortexes, and each of us is that divine touchdown of successful launch of Spirit. For truly we become that place through which Spirit moves in ways that are grand and glorious. And so as we allow ourselves to be open to that divine motion and movement, bringing forth that which we have to share, we find that the universe is sharing its infinite wealth and abundance in our world in those ways that are right and real and relevant and perfect. And that is beyond just the monetary realm. But that shows up in terms of employment, in terms of relationships, and in terms of health in the body, of creativity. It is all Spirit is omnipresent. And so as I allow that to move forward, move through me in this moment, support of Spirit's work, I find Spirit supporting its work as my life is your life. It's how it works. I say thank you, Father, Mother, God, for blessing me and each and every one of us with this wonderful energetic blessing, and know that as it is shared, this energetic blessing of good and joy continues to grace everyone it touches. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this moment to be the activity of that abundant flow of life, and so it is. Amen. Together, let us say this affirmation of abundance, which is, Spirit continues to bless my world. Gratefully, I live as the giving expression of Spirit. opening the floodgates of the affluent flow of greater good as my life now. And those are your guys from Seaside. Nice job. And so as I stand before this abundance, I can feel that outpouring of the love and the caring and the compassion. I know truly grace has touched down in the life of each one of these givers. And as we have said yes to be that channel through which that affluent flow flows, I know that our life has been enriched in those ways that are particular, real, and right. And this love that has been given and is received in love, it is handled with good stewardship, and it is put forth back into that energetic action in life that brings the blessings of God to all those who comes in contact. Thank you, Father, Mother God, for this opportunity to participate in this wonderful flow, and so it is. Amen. All right. This is John, heading up our golf tournament. How's it going? We got our first sign-up. First, I thought you could tell me we were filled, but we got our first foursome. First one. Well, you can put me down there, so okay. I'll bring in a foursome for sure. Oh, okay. Well, I'll pay after service. Anyway, see John with that. The golf, very exciting what we're doing. Rebecca's doing the concert. So plan, if you don't play golf, be there for the concert. It's going to be a fun night of dancing. She's bringing her band with her. But speaking of wonderful, right now in this moment where faith is in this moment, it is the wonderful Angel Travis. Oh my goodness. That's incredible. What voice. What a vibrational frequency you cast within this room. And all of us are just shifting with where you take us. And it's beautiful. Thank you for that journey. Becca, you're a joy. Just fun. Looking cute today, and always a wonderful way you just orchestrate our wonderful artistic and musical expression here. Bless you. And Audra making her first debut in that chair. Wow. So that happens. Keep going. And giving us sound today, Matthew, giving us the visuals. Marv, great job. And Steve Grant, too. And the Crawford sound crew, film crew. Thank you, all you guys standing around on your platforms, sharing this with the world. The list gets longer and longer every week. I can't read all the names, but we know that you're there. And thank you for all your contributions and that which you share in writing and the emails and the text. It's beautiful. So keep it up. But anyway, take a look at Sunday program, see what's going on. Tuesday night, I'm meeting with the practitioners. Deb Sadler has got me doing a Joel Goldsmith for a couple Tuesday nights with the practitioner. So that will be fun. Next Sunday after service, Sandy Atkinson, we're doing a service for her. She's one of our charter members. She took our community green, and I know she's going to keep an eye on us, so we're not going to go back to using paper goods and single-use plastic, and we'll keep our community garden going. So we're going to honor her life on Sunday. Then the following week, we got the Interfaith Forum Voices of our City Choir. They were actually on TV, and it's an interfaith city choir, and it's Interfaith Week in the United States, and the governors all over the place proclaiming that, and so we're participating every day that week. Something's going on. 19th is Carlton Pearson is going to be here. Tam McKeeve is going to be on the 26th. James Von Prague, that's big news day, is we are officially starting selling tickets. So giving you the heads up, VIP always sells out first and quick. The people like to get close to him and Lynn and the food and the good parking and the upfront seating. So, but pick up your tickets for that, and there's just a lot going on, so take a look. But what I want to do right now is pray. Healing is the thrust of our movement since its conception. On the last Sunday of the month, what we do is we create our prayer wall. Our practitioners create a wonderful chalice of prayer energy, and I want to invite them to stand up front up here with me. I will do a spiritual mind prayer, and when I'm done, Rebecca will sing us out of here, and then these individuals will be available to do a short prayer with you. You come up, you share what's going on, and how you could possibly like to see a greater expression of the spiritual truth of your life showing up, and they will speak that word with telescopic brevity, and healing happens for sure. So just invite you to open up your heart and soul and feel the love that's here, the caring, the compassion, that life force. It is a power and a presence that moves in this room, and it's right and it's real, and it's God. It's what created all things. And we have been created equal with these wonderful rights just by stepping into this world. These inalienable rights of expression as a child of God. And we come into this world feeling and being reminded of our infinite potential, and that we are that divine vortex of God expression. So allow that greater frequency to move through you, and as it moves through you, something shifts. I don't need to tell this infinite intelligence what to do with my body or with my life, but I open up to the wonderful movement of spirit, and I experience a healing in those ways in my life that could use a greater upliftment, a greater clarity, a greater perception of wholeness. For the physical body does not have control, but rather is the consciousness of the great I am, that you are, that God is having as you, that facilitates perfect healing. And something's moving through you now. Feel it and sense it and know that you're not putting it there. It is the very life force. It itself. It is that which is expressive in all individuals and all expressions of life. It is that omnipresence, omnipotent, all-powerful, all-knowing, omniscient expression of life itself. And as I come to step into that resonant field, there is something that shifts within the body, and every cell, every tissue, every organ, every fiber. The physical being responds to its innate blueprint of wholeness, and healing happens in the physical form. The strength returns, refreshed, energized, and ready to go at a new level, bringing forth the gifts for which we have come into this world to share, living with a sense of success and fulfillment and contentment. The wonderful energy flow and the abundance flows, and all that is necessary to support the greater expression of our being is here now. So letting go of any of that settling kind of energy that has taken up space and consciousness, I just let it go and allow myself to be re-emergent here in this moment. I'm able to bring this light and this love to my relationships, to my work experiences. I find the courageousness to step forth with the truth of who I am and what it is I have to contribute. For each and every one of us is indispensable. We have the gifts of the divine to share. And we are seen and known and appreciated and loved and honored. And I'm grateful to stand as a witness, as that is the truth of being, your being. Say thank you, God, for the healing going on, for every prayer request in our prayer request chest. Spirit moves now. Feel it, sense it beyond words. Thank you. Thank you. And it's in this state of grace and appreciation that I let go. Just allow Spirit to be. And so it is.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say
If you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you've got to let it go. And this is what you have to say. Come on, Seaside. I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. So no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Said I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life. And my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. Said no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Come on, Seaside, you know what to do. Oh, doesn't that feel good? Said no more struggle, no more strife. With my faith, I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Yay. Woo!
And our affirmation is, I am courageous in my self-expression. Together, I am courageous in my self-expression. Touch your heart and say it again. I am courageous in my self-expression. One more time like it's your truth. I am courageous in my self-expression. And our song of grace.
I'm living in love. I'm living in peace. I'm living my life for what I believe. Through joys and through fears, in this world I walk. God's grace shines on me, and it shines on us all. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We're living in love. We're living in peace. United we stand as one family. We honor all truth as together we walk. God's grace moves through me, and it moves through us all. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in grace. We are living in
Come on up, have some prayer. We're here for you. We'd love to pray with you.